Take a look at this massive traffic jam. All those lights you see in the distance are ships. Do you have 87? Petrol 87.
No 87, sir.
I look like an Arab hunter. And this is the time when there are the fewest people in the city?
Yes, this is the first time I've seen it like this. Even fewer than during the pandemic.
As I walk around, honestly, I'm more and more surprised by how empty this place is. Good morning from Dubai International Airport. After having been in Iran and with a regional conflict that has the whole world on edge, I came here to see what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, a strategic maritime passage, but also to get a feel for the city. So let's not talk anymore and let's go. 4 weeks after being in Iran following the country's largest protests in years, the Strait of Hormuz became the epicenter of an unprecedented geopolitical clash. On February 28, 2026, combined forces from the United States and Israel launched a large-scale campaign with nearly 900 bombings in 12 hours. Targeting nuclear sites, naval bases, missile silos, and Iran's leadership, the campaign ended with Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's assassination, later succeeded by his son, Mojtaba. The Iranian response was immediate and also on a large scale, using a saturation attack doctrine. It included the launch of cruise ballistic missiles and low-cost Shahed-type drones. The wave of projectiles overwhelmed the defenses of Israel and the United Arab Emirates, leaving images of airports and buildings in flames, but it also targeted strategic objectives and military bases in Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Iraq. Simultaneously, the Strait of Hormuz blockade began. The Naval Corps of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard confirmed 2 days later that the strait was closed, while news that they had attacked at least 2 oil tankers with naval drones and projectiles spread like wildfire through stock markets around the world. Maritime traffic saw its steepest decline since the crisis of the 1970s. The price of Brent crude surpassed $120 per barrel, and the Gulf countries, most of which have been allies of the United States for decades and import up to 80% of their food through this route, entered a supply emergency. In the Emirates, where most of the Iranian missiles were directed, even more than against Israel, the conflict has mainly affected tourism. After closing 2025 with record arrival numbers, with almost 20 million tourists annually, the suspension of flights and the perception of insecurity caused hotel occupancy to drop from 80 to 20%, and arrivals from 2 million to 450,000. On April 8th, after weeks of hostilities, a temporary ceasefire was agreed between Iran and the United States, which keeps the conflict in a stage of tense stalemate where selective attacks, shipboardings, and cross-threats have continued. In this video, we review the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, at the same time as we traveled through the desert lands of the Emirates, trying to understand more closely how this crisis affects our daily lives. How is the city nowadays?
It's good now.
It's good now, yes, after the attacks.
Yeah, it's good now. Now it's okay, but there are 2 months, February, and the people all go.
All go, yet the tourists, yes, mostly.
Still no tourists.
Still no tourists?
Yeah, I think maybe this is only for the business people working here. Yeah, still. Too many tourists, always crowded with foreigners.
So there's less traffic nowadays, right?
Yeah, a lot less traffic.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pakistan.
And the people from Pakistan are still working here. They didn't leave, right?
Yeah, no.
How long have you worked here?
I've been working here for 5 years.
5 years?
Yes.
And this is the time when fewer people are in the city. Do you think so?
Yeah, I see. Lately.
Past time.
Before the corona, it wasn't like this.
But I've read that the Emirates it has good air defenses.
Yeah. Still, you don't see too many big explosions.
Yeah, the last time a rocket
Yeah.
or a drone hit Dubai, it was 1 month ago maybe?
Yeah, 1 month.
1 month or so, that's a lot.
From here in Al Jadaf, I see that trucker is coming.
Did you see it?
During Ramadan.
In Ramadan?
Yes, and it all comes from Burj Khalifa, where the air defenses are weaker.
Because it's coming one time like maybe 10 or 15. First stop on today's itinerary, Dubai International Airport. I'm going to rent a car to take a drive around the Emirates, but you can see that, well, it's running at half capacity. Normally this should be full of cars, with taxis arriving. This is specifically the departures terminal. And yeah, it would be full of travelers arriving to catch their flights, and inside the airport also looks less busy. From what the girl working over there at the car rental told me, she says that hardly any white tourists come anymore. She says white, no tourist. Brown, yes. Yes, brown people, yes. It's true that the flow of tourists has slowed down a lot, especially Europeans, right? From the United States, Australians, and from other parts of the world, from the Western world, let's say. After centuries in which the Emirates based their economy on subsistence, on pearls and fishing, the petrodollar decades began. Oil was found here, as many of you know, and in this area of the Persian Gulf, in other countries as well, and the influx of money was enormous. They went from being nomadic tribes living in the desert to building giant buildings, huge masses of concrete and glass that have flourished like a real urban jungle in the middle of the sand. After decades focused on the oil business, a few years ago the leaders of the Emirates, the sheikhs, decided to pursue aggressive economic diversification. That included sectors like technology, as well as a massive investment in logistics to serve as a business bridge between continents, Europeans, Africans, and Asians, and also in tourism. Right now, as I'm recording this video, in the middle of May, specifically on May 14th, the city is in a kind of transition. The hardest part of the attack, so to speak, has been put on pause, but that international confidence still hasn't been restored. Mainly because the Strait of Hormuz, where I'm heading now, is still in a kind of technical blockade. And according to experts, even though the situation has calmed down, it's true that it will take time for the tourist traffic that existed before the conflict to recover. And if peace and the de-escalation of tensions are confirmed, in the most optimistic scenario, partial recovery and an increase in tourists would begin only in the third or fourth quarter of the year, with the winter. After an hour and a half of driving, I have arrived at Daja Fort in the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah in the north of the country and very close to the Strait of Hormuz. There is Daja Fort, and you can see its location surrounded by huge mountains, which is a characteristic of the Strait of Hormuz. Now we'll go into detail and look at the oasis they've created here. As I told you, I was heading toward the Strait of Hormuz and wanted to start with some historical details to understand its importance today. According to some historians, the place where the fort is and its surroundings have been inhabited for 5 years. If before we saw that small oasis, here opens one 5 or 6 times bigger, and it's one of the reasons that allowed people to live here continuously. For thousands of years, as civilizations developed, trade and navigation through the Strait of Hormuz became increasingly important. And with the rise of thalassocracies, that is, empires or kingdoms, with a very strong and powerful navy that dominated the seas. Specifically, I'm referring to the Portuguese and the Spanish of the late 15th and 16th centuries. News finally reached that side of the planet, the old continent, Europe, that here there was a pearl, a commercial pearl, worth fighting for. The Portuguese first arrived here at the beginning of the 16th century and dominated it for a century. They settled on the island of Hormuz, and from there controlled the passage of merchant ships. And they, the Portuguese, very clever, didn't allow anyone to sail unless they carried, well, a kind of certificate, right? For navigation. What would be today, for which they had to pay, of course. So that's how they made income. Later, in the 17th century, in 1622, the English East India Company, together with the Persian Empire, formed an alliance. The English provided the navy and the Persians the land army, and they drove the Portuguese out of here. From then on, the local kingdoms regained their presence in the strait, both the Persian side and the Arab side, and they remained that way until well into the 19th century. Take a look at the fort. Look, this is pure beach sand with what looks like straw and shells mixed with stones. It's true that they managed however they could, right? If you compare it to a castle, well, it seems a bit fragile, but that doesn't mean it wasn't an important place. Although it looks older, this fort was built in the 19th century. And here, an epic battle took place for the locals against the British Empire, one of the last places where resistance was offered, before the peace or truce treaty was signed, after which these states began to be known as the Trucial States, which today are the United Arab Emirates. Well, so much for that. I wanted to go into the mountains to a viewpoint that's near the border with Oman. A police officer was there, the road was closed, and he told me to turn back. And that's what I did. Behind those mountains, just 4 or 5 kilometers in a straight line, is Oman. I wanted to come here to show you what the geography and nature of the tip of the Strait of Hormuz look like this. Huge stone mountains. If in Dubai we are at sea level, here the mountains, some of them, the highest ones, rise above 2,000 meters. When I asked the police officer why the road was closed, if it was because of the current situation, he told me, "Yes, brother. This is as far as we can go. We can't go any further, and this is supposed to be a tourist attraction." Just so you get an idea, before the hot phase of the conflict started, between 120 and 170 ships used to pass through here every day. Nowadays, if we're lucky, maybe 10 pass through at most. And those that do often turn off the tracking system, switch off their lights because it's very risky. Of the ships that manage to get through nowadays, China is estimated to have been the most successful, which has a huge fleet and also, well, benefits from commercial relations with Iran and has a success rate of about 20%. This blockade and this sense of insecurity have caused the risk premium charged by ship insurers to increase by up to 4,000%. It has gone from being 0.25% of the value of the ship to 10% during the most tense moments. Now it's around 4 or 6%, and that's a price they give only for a couple of days, because the situation is changing every week. This has caused there to be around 2,000 ships and 20,000 sailors currently trapped in the Persian Gulf, unable to move, waiting for the situation to calm down. And imagine what that means. All this holding back of oil, and not just oil but also goods like fertilizers, which are very necessary for some countries that can't produce them themselves, has caused the economy to slow down. As we saw in the videos about Iran, up to 20% of the world's oil passes through here. In fact, the first effects of this crisis could already be noticed in African countries or in Southeast Asia. In response to the Iranian blockade in Hormuz, Donald Trump's administration announced a counter-naval blockade on May 1st aimed at completely suffocating Tehran's crude oil exports from the main ports of the Gulf. Since then, the United States and its allies have kept warships strategically positioned at the edges of Iran's territorial waters to prevent their shipments from reaching the open sea. Beyond the official Iranian ships, the deployment has a primary target, the so-called Ghost Fleet. This is a global network of ships, usually outdated tankers, that operate outside the international financial and insurance system. Formed to evade sanctions and transport crude oil from embargoed nations like Venezuela, Russia, or Iran, this fleet often sails under flags of convenience from small states with little or no maritime tradition or access to the sea. In addition, to blend in with the dense international traffic, these ships turn off or falsify their GPS signal using satellite spoofing techniques. In this way, the US Navy carries out an open hunt against this clandestine fleet, blocks their passage, boards the ships, and confiscates the cargo on the grounds that they are violating international sanctions and financing terrorism. Faced with the lethal threat and the prohibitively high insurance premiums, the world's major shipping companies prefer not to take risks and divert their fleets around the African continent via the Cape of Good Hope, an alternative route that adds up to 20 more days of sailing and tension to the global supply chain. Simultaneously, the crisis is now unfolding as well in the neighboring Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the key link between the Indian Ocean, Red Sea, and Mediterranean. There, Iran's proxy forces in Yemen, the Houthi rebels, have unleashed a campaign of targeted attacks against any vessel with American, British, or Israeli interests. The strategic gravity of this double naval chokehold is such that, in mid-May, it triggered an emergency summit between President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. During the meeting, the Chinese leader referred to a historic warning, the Thucydides trap, the theory that explains how the fear of a hegemonic power in the face of a rising power often leads to an inevitable war. With this reference to classical Greece, Xi Jinping sent a direct message to the White House. If both superpowers do not act with the utmost responsibility, the world will find itself on the brink of a global armed conflict. A brief technical stop before the next point on the itinerary. We're going to refuel. This gas station is owned by ADNOC, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, which is the most widespread across all the Emirates. I'm interested to know what the price of oil is. Well, gasoline here. I don't think it's very expensive. Hello, sir. Excuse me. Do you have 87? Petrol 87.
No 87, sir. 91, 95, 98.
All right, thank you. Well, here you have it, at $3.48 per liter. I imagined it would be much cheaper. 30 liters, 100 dirhams. That's about 25 euros. A little less. 25 euros. Of course, I thought it would be dirt cheap, like 20 cents a liter, but no. It's almost a euro. Anyway, it's still cheaper than in Spain. And another thing that surprised me, I don't know where you're watching me from, but in Spain we have the typical gasoline, 95 octane and 98, and here they have 91, which they've just added now. And at the car rental place, they told me I can even use 87. It's incredible what they're building, and they never stop building here in the United Arab Emirates. Take a look. Tons of houses, developments, and on the other side of the road you have what seem to be water tanks to supply all these cities, right? For the people, for the parks. Every 20 or 30 kilometers along this road I've already come across, or even less, every 10 kilometers. You see huge desalination plants. Now, before continuing this journey through the United Arab Emirates, I have come to an adventure park, well, a falconry park, which is inside a luxury hotel, the Carlton Ritz. I think it's this way. It's the only one I've found. I've always been very interested in falconry from the Arabian Peninsula. For those who don't know, well, it's one of the ways in which nomadic hunters have become experts, using birds of prey to hunt their prey. And apparently there's a show here. Let's see how it is. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, please.
Thank you. There aren't many tourists now, are there?
No. Only on weekends.
Only on weekends.
Now it's just the guests.
Good evening, Mr. Victor.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Please.
Are you ready? Give me your left hand, sir. There he is. Oh, she dropped it.
She's not going to be mad, is she? Does she hunt at night or also during the day?
That's a very good question. This gentleman asked us what Ashley's hunting schedule would be, because I know most of us grew up hearing that owls are fully nocturnal. They hunt during the nighttime during the night. However, that's not true. There are up to 200 kinds of owls, and there are 3 different hunting schedules. So how can we know their schedule? They have 3 eye colors, and their hunting schedule can be determined by their eye color. Ashley has orange eyes, which means she's a crepuscular owl. She will hunt during sunrise and sunset, and in the afternoon and nighttime, she's just going to rest. Would you like to send her back?
Yes, how do I do it?
Just point her towards the pole and then push. Nicely done, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. Do you like his name? Who has the best name, Ashley or Zeus?
Zeus is a pretty good name.
Yeah, he is.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Eagles, not with the owls, but with the eagles and the falcons, and provide for themselves and their family. Now, you will see how falcons are everywhere in the UAE. From government notes to government logos, hospitals, anywhere that you go, truly even in their passport, they have a falcon. In the UAE, they respect the falcons so much that this was the first country in the entire world that made a hospital just for one. The Abu Dhabi Falcon Hospital was built in the early 1980s. Also, it's the first country to have a passport only for falcons. Yes. Falcon passport is real. They have their own passport. This guy has one. If I ever want to ship this falcon abroad, I'd have to fly on a plane. It's only because of the respect for this bird. The respect goes back many, many years. Well, about more than 2,000 years ago in the Middle East, when there was nothing but cold desert here, people started. The penguins and locals began working with this creature to survive. And this is how it looks. Can you go on top of that rock for me? And he may just start walking around like a chicken. Yeah? What is your decision today? Never mind, he took off. The reason why... It passed. So, as I said, that leather acts like an actual prey. You can see it. He is holding on to it, and he is not giving it back to me. If I snatch that prey out of him, that's going to harm our relationship. So I'm going to offer him a chicken head right there. For that chicken head, he has left the prey entirely.
How much can one of these cost if it's very exclusive? Because I've heard maybe millions, right?
100%.
Here in the Emirates.
100%. Now, there are differences between falcon species. However, the most expensive falcon is either the Saker falcon, which is one of the most golden-looking falcons that you can see. However, they're not actually the most expensive. The most expensive falcon on the entire planet is the pure white falcon, which doesn't have any color other than white. And it's the Gir falcon, which is also big. And that falcon can be sold for millions. A prince in Saudi Arabia bought a falcon from a local guy here for around 20 million dirhams.
And that's how the show ends, with the falcon in my hands. Look at what a beautiful animal this is. I look like an Arab hunter right now. It was very nice to meet you. Good luck. Bye. Who would have thought that I would end up today in a luxury hotel, watching the falcons and the birds of prey? It's huge. This here is just the adventure section, which has archery, a little plaza for kids, right? And what we just saw. But look at it, it even has. What is that? They look like gazelles. Well, little desert goats here. And as you saw, there were quite a lot of people there at the show. I mean, luxury never rests. Luxury doesn't care about conflicts. Well, after an hour and a half on the road from the Falcon place, I'm finally in the city of Fujairah, accompanied by a cat who seems really hungry, poor thing. I don't have anything, buddy. Since I started the day on the westernmost side of this strait, I wanted to end it on the easternmost side, and the reason is very simple. Here in Fujairah, it's as if the Emirati sheikhs knew about the risk of having everything on the closed-off side of the Persian Gulf. They built and developed the port city of Fujairah. Those white lights you see in the background are the beginning of a huge area dedicated to the port and logistics. This way, by building it on this shore, they avoid being trapped inside the Gulf and have a natural exit to the Indian Ocean and really to the whole world. Also, even though there is currently a truce, recently, just 3 or 4 days ago if I'm not mistaken, there was an attack on this logistics center and on this port of Fujairah. So here, as you can imagine, the GPS doesn't work very well and could be better. And you can see 1 or 2 military helicopters patrolling, and if I told you that's the port over there, take a look at the huge traffic jam there. All those orange, yellow and white lights you see in the distance are ships, freighters, oil tankers, all kinds of ships waiting for the passage through the strait to become viable again. The lights disappear into the horizon. Another important point is that, besides the ships, while I was driving here to Fujairah, I must have passed 50 kilometers of traffic jams with trucks carrying containers and other goods. It was unbelievable. I imagine it has to do with the port of Fujairah and its logistics, but also with the current blockade situation. 50 kilometers of trucks carrying containers from Maersk, MSC, Hapag-Lloyd, Costco, and also Chinese containers. Which means that somehow these goods need to be moved out. Well, from here, witnessing the situation that has the world economy on edge, I'm going to head back to Dubai and call it a day. Good morning from Dubai. From the hotel where I've been staying, I wanted to show you what you can get these days in Dubai for 35 euros. 35 euros at the current exchange rate. A real luxury hotel, as you can see. A desk for work, television. The water bottle's always ready, coffee maker, kettle, an iron that, even if it doesn't look like it, I ironed yesterday's shirt. The thing is, since it's linen, it wrinkles just by looking at it. But anyway, you even have an ironing board, bathrobe, everything you can imagine. Safe, hair dryer, here is a prayer rug if you're Muslim. And this is the bathroom. A full bathroom with a shower, toilet, toothbrush, and personal hygiene kit. Also, the price I'm mentioning includes breakfast and the hotel, just so you get an idea. It has a pool, gym and spa as well, although I think you have to pay extra for the spa, but the gym and pool are included in the price. Just so you get an idea of the price change this situation has caused, this hotel, during high season or at maximum capacity, can easily cost 100 euros or more at the current exchange rate. It's true that I'm not in the city center, but I'm also not too far out on the outskirts. The airport is over there, just 10 or 15 minutes away by car, and that's the metro that takes you directly to the city center. I have a few hours before I have to go to the airport to catch my next flight, so I'm going to have a coffee and then head to the center to see how Dubai is during the conflict. The first thing I'm going to do is get on the metro to see how it is. It's already past 9 in the morning and you wouldn't believe how hot it is. It feels like Seville in August at 2 in the afternoon. Well, I was saying that even though it's already 9 in the morning and it's not rush hour, I also want to see how the metro is, but I don't expect it to be super empty. Because after all, the ones who have stopped coming, at least for now, are mostly tourists, especially Westerners, right? And the people who work, the workers, they're the ones who usually take the metro. Well, they're still here for now. Look at this. How interesting. 5G antennas with solar panels. And just like I saw yesterday on the roads here in Dubai, how much construction there is, right? You keep seeing buildings under construction. How nice the coolness of the air conditioning feels. I'm not really a fan of air conditioning, I don't like to use it much, but now it's absolutely necessary. How do you feel about the metro? Are there fewer people now? Yes, even in the metro? But is it workers or just tourists or everyone? Nothing, no tourists. One of the things that first caught my attention in the subway is that you have different cars. In this case, it's the gold class, the gold cabin. For a slightly higher price, you pay a bit more and you can travel more comfortably. But you also have an exclusive car, or if we're being precise with railway terminology, an exclusive car for women and children. This is the one I was telling you about, only for women, and this is how the rest of the metro looks.
المحطة الأخيرة لهذا القطار هي EN. المحطة القادمة هي.
The metro is empty. I mean, unlike how I know it from other times I've been here when it's packed. But of course, this is a branch line, so it's a smaller line, not the one in the city center. We'll see that now. Here at the transfer, you can already notice more people, as you can see, especially people, I would say from India, Pakistan, those regions, also from the Philippines. There are a lot of workers from the Philippines here, and from sub-Saharan Africa. But one thing's for sure, white people, tourists, are rarely seen. In fact, I don't see any right now. We're going to have to push our way in, packed tight. Check it out. Look how crowded the subway is.
Your attention, please. The train is.
There have been people pushing to get in and out. As you've seen, it's packed. Now that I'm going to the Burj Khalifa and the mall, I wanted to take a look here to see how the traffic is, and well, judge for yourselves. I would say there are fewer cars in general, although as you can see, cars are still passing by. This isn't deserted, well, and finally we've arrived at the Dubai Mall. Let's see how it looks. For now, I'm seeing it emptier than usual. It's true that it's not rush hour yet, it gets busier in the afternoon. But still, this place would be full, especially since it's the entrance to the metro. Look what I found here. The famous Dubai chocolate is almost on par, though not quite, with Belgian or Swiss chocolate. Here it has become super famous and already has its own label, Dubai chocolate, which is chocolate filled with kunefe, a kind of fried cheese and pistachio. Wow, this is the first time I've seen it so empty. Well, I think this mall doesn't even need an introduction. Anyone who knows a bit about Dubai already knows it, for sure. It's huge. You have all kinds of stores, luxury, regular ones too, tech stores, restaurants, even luxury ones. There's something like a golden mile, right? Even inside the mall itself, just for having the mall. They even have penguins here in a kind of aquarium they have. And well, it's a giant fish tank several stories high, with sharks, rays, I don't know, all kinds of fish. Honestly, when you see it for the first time, you're amazed, and you think to yourself, how is this aquarium in a shopping mall? Well, interesting things about Dubai. They even have skeletons that look like brontosauruses, though I'm not sure if they are. And I almost forgot, it also has an ice skating rink. As I keep walking around, honestly, I'm more and more surprised at how empty this place is. Because even with the coffee shops you think, okay, maybe people don't go shopping at 10 in the morning, but they do go for a coffee, they go to have breakfast, right? And then they take a walk around here, even the locals I would say, but no, nothing. It's super empty. And there you have it, the impressive Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world right now, and this square, just like the mall, is empty. Usually you'll see a lot of tourists here taking pictures, enjoying the fountain show, which is a little further ahead. And I think it's every half hour, or every hour. Well, with the Burj Khalifa behind me, I'll end the video here. Time will tell if this is temporary and Dubai resumes the exponential growth it saw in recent months and years. Thank you very much for joining me, and as I always say, see you next time. Bye.